It was a quiet Sunday afternoon. I was sitting in my living room, the smell of Sophia's cooking drifting from the kitchen. Everything felt peaceful, the kind of peace you earn after years of struggle. Then the doorbell rang. I opened the door and my heart stopped. Standing there were my parents. 7 years without a single word, and now they appeared on my doorstep. My mother looked older, her hair completely gray, holding a white envelope in her trembling hands. My father cleared his throat and said, "Son, we need to talk. This is something you need to know." Before I share what happened next, let me know where you are watching from today. Hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already. What was in that letter changed everything I thought I knew about my parents. Let me take you back to where it all began. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago in a house that looked perfect from the outside. My father, Harold, built a furniture business from the ground up. By the time I was born, the family owned a chain of high-end furniture stores across 3 states. My mother, Margaret, came from old money. She spent her days organizing charity events and making sure our family name appeared in all the right places. From the moment I could walk, my path was already decided. Private schools, country club memberships, summers at exclusive camps. I was groomed to take over the family business. My parents introduced me to the sons and daughters of their business partners, hoping I would find a suitable match among them. Everything in my life was calculated, measured, approved. I felt like I was living someone else's dream. There was always this pressure sitting on my chest, this expectation that I would become exactly who they wanted me to be. I smiled at the right people, said the right things, wore the right clothes. But inside I felt hollow. When I was 24 years old, everything changed. I walked into a small coffee shop near downtown, the kind of place my parents would never set foot in. Behind the counter stood a woman with warm brown eyes and a smile that felt like sunshine breaking through clouds. Her name tag said Sophia. She was working her way through nursing school, taking every shift she could to pay her tuition. We started talking, and I found myself coming back to that coffee shop every single day. Sophia grew up in rural Indiana. Her father passed away when she was 12, leaving her mother to raise 3 kids on a factory worker's salary. She knew what it meant to struggle to count every penny to work for everything she had. There was no pretense with her, no games, no calculations. She was real in a way I had never experienced before. We started dating, but I kept it secret from my parents. 8 months passed, and I knew I was falling deeply in love with this woman. I also knew my parents would never approve. That Christmas, I decided to bring Sophia home for dinner. I thought maybe if they met her, if they saw how wonderful she was, they would understand. I was wrong. The moment Sophia walked through the door, my mother's eyes scanned her from head to toe. She noted the simple dress, the lack of designer labels, the modest jewelry. Throughout dinner, she asked question after question. What school did Sophia attend? What did her family do? Where did she grow up? Sophia answered honestly. She had no reason to hide who she was. I watched my mother's expression harden with each response. My father barely spoke to Sophia the entire evening. He addressed his comments to me as if she was not even sitting at the table. After Sophia left, my mother wasted no time. She sat me down in the living room and said, "That girl is not suitable for our family. You deserve someone better, someone from a proper background." My father was more direct. He looked me in the eye and said, "If you continue this relationship, you need to reconsider your future at the company. I will not have my son make choices that embarrass this family." I left that night feeling like I had been punched in the stomach, but I still held on to hope. I believed that once they truly knew Sophia, they would change their minds. That hope would cost me dearly. The months that followed were a slow torture. My parents did everything in their power to separate us. My mother started inviting me to dinners where coincidentally the daughters of her friends would be present. Beautiful women from wealthy families, all eager to make a match. My mother would praise them endlessly, describing their education, their family connections, their breeding. The word breeding made me sick. Meanwhile, my father found reasons to criticize my work at the company. He reduced my responsibilities, questioned my decisions publicly, cut my salary. He said I needed to prove my maturity before taking on more leadership. But we both knew what he really meant. He was punishing me for choosing Sophia. Sophia was never invited to family gatherings. Holidays, birthdays, company events, my parents acted as if she did not exist. When I tried to bring her up in conversation, they would change the subject or simply walk away. It was like loving her made me invisible to them. Through all of this, Sophia never complained. She finished her nursing degree with honors, landed a job at a local hospital, and started building her career. She paid her own rent, bought her own car, never asked me for anything. She was the strongest person I knew, and she faced my family's rejection with a dignity that amazed me. But late one night, I discovered how much she was really hurting. I came home early and found her sitting in her car parked outside her apartment crying. Her phone was in her hand. I tapped on the window and she quickly wiped her tears, trying to smile. I asked her what was wrong. She hesitated, then showed me the message. It was from my mother. The words were cruel and calculated. "I know what you are doing. If you truly love my son, you will leave him. You are ruining his life. You will never be one of us." Sophia had never told me about these messages. I later found out there were dozens of them over the past year. My mother had been waging a private war against the woman I loved, and Sophia had been protecting me from it. After 3 years of dating, I proposed to Sophia. I knew my parents would be furious, but I did not care anymore. I called them to share the news, hoping against hope that they might finally accept what they could not change. My mother cried on the phone, but not tears of joy. She said I was throwing away everything our family had built. She said I was being manipulated by a woman who only wanted our money. My father's response was even worse. He told me that if I married Sophia, he would not attend the wedding. He would not recognize the marriage, and he would remove me from the family trust. The threat was clear. Choose Sophia and lose everything. I chose Sophia. The wedding day should have been the happiest day of my life. We held it at a small church, nothing fancy, just about 50 friends and family members who actually cared about us. Sophia looked beautiful in her simple white dress. Her mother, a small woman with calloused hands and kind eyes, sat in the front row, beaming with pride. The ceremony was perfect until it was not. Halfway through the vows, the church doors swung open. My parents walked in, and I felt my blood run cold. My mother marched down the aisle and stopped right in front of the altar. In a voice loud enough for everyone to hear, she announced that this marriage was a fraud. She called Sophia a gold digger, a con artist who had seduced her son for his money. She said Sophia's family had a history of debt and failure, that Sophia was using me to escape her miserable life. My father threw a folder onto the altar. He claimed it contained proof of everything: financial records, background checks, evidence of Sophia's true intentions. Sophia stood there, frozen tears streaming down her face. She could not speak, could not move. Her mother rushed to her side, trembling. The guests sat in stunned silence. I looked at my parents, these people who raised me, who taught me right from wrong, and I saw strangers. I saw cruelty dressed in expensive clothes. I saw everything I never wanted to become. Something inside me snapped. I picked up the folder my father had thrown, the one filled with his so-called evidence. I looked at it for a moment, then I tore it apart. I ripped every page, every document, every lie they had assembled to destroy the woman I loved. The pieces scattered across the altar like confetti. Then I turned to my parents and spoke words I had been holding inside for years. "This is the last time I will allow you to hurt the people I love. From this day forward, I am no longer your son. You made your choice, and now I am making mine." I took Sophia's hand, turned back to the minister, and asked him to continue. My parents stood there for a moment, shocked into silence. Then they walked out. The doors closed behind them, and I never looked back. We finished our vows. Sophia's voice was shaky. Her hands were trembling, but she said yes. I said yes. We were married. But the joy was tainted. The memory of that day would always carry a shadow. After the wedding, I quit my job at the family company. I walked away from the salary, the title, the future my parents had planned for me. Sophia and I moved into a tiny one-bedroom apartment on the other side of the city. The first few months were brutal. We had almost nothing. Sophia worked night shifts at the hospital, while I took a job as a sales associate at a furniture store. Not my family's store, a competitor's. The irony was not lost on me. We counted every dollar. We ate simple meals. We wore our shoes until they fell apart. But we were happy. For the first time in my life, I understood what happiness actually meant. It was not about money or status or family approval. It was about coming home to someone who loved you for exactly who you were. 2 years later, I saved enough to open my own small furniture store. I started with just 500 square feet and a handful of pieces I designed myself. Sophia believed in me when no one else did. She helped me with the books, worked the register on her days off, encouraged me when sales were slow. The business grew slowly, then faster. Within 5 years, I had 3 locations and a reputation for quality craftsmanship. Sophia advanced in her career too, becoming a head nurse at one of the best hospitals in the region. We bought a house with a big backyard. We had 2 beautiful children. We built everything from nothing. 7 years passed without a single word from my parents. No calls, no letters, no birthday cards for the grandchildren they had never met. I told myself I was fine with it. I told myself I did not need them. But late at night when the house was quiet, I sometimes wondered if they ever thought about me. Then came that Sunday afternoon. The doorbell rang. My parents stood on my doorstep, looking like ghosts from another life. They had aged dramatically. My mother's hair was completely white. My father walked with a slight limp. They looked smaller somehow, diminished. Sophia came to stand beside me. She did not say a word, but her presence gave me strength. I invited them inside more out of shock than hospitality. We sat in the living room, the 4 of us, surrounded by years of silence. My father reached into his coat and pulled out the white envelope. "Read this," he said. "Then we will talk." I opened the envelope and unfolded the letter inside. As I read, my hands began to shake. The letter was a copy of my grandparents' will written 20 years ago. My grandfather, my father's father, had left specific instructions for his estate. The bulk of the family wealth was to be held in trust until I reached the age of 35. But there was a condition. The will stated that I must marry for love, not for family convenience. My grandfather had written, "I built this fortune from nothing, and I watched too many families destroyed by arranged marriages and loveless unions. My grandson must choose his own path. He must marry someone he truly loves regardless of her background or social standing. Only then will he receive his inheritance." My parents had hidden this will from me my entire life. They had pressured me to marry someone suitable, knowing full well it would have violated my grandfather's wishes. They had tried to destroy my relationship with Sophia, the very relationship that fulfilled my grandfather's condition. And now they were telling me the truth. But not because they had changed, not because they were sorry. They told me because the family business was failing. Years of mismanagement, bad investments, and market changes had pushed the company to the brink of bankruptcy. They needed my inheritance to save it. They needed me to claim the trust and pour the money back into the family business. They needed me to rescue them from the consequences of their own choices. My mother spoke first. "We want to make things right. We are family. That should mean something." I looked at her, this woman who had sent cruel messages to Sophia, who had tried to humiliate her on our wedding day, who had called her a gold digger. Not once in her speech did she apologize. Not once did she acknowledge what she had done. I sat with that letter in my hands for a long time. I read my grandfather's words over and over. He had seen something in me that my parents never did. He had trusted me to choose love over convenience, authenticity over appearance. And I had done exactly that without even knowing his wishes. I looked at my parents, at their expectant faces. They were waiting for me to save them. They had come to me not out of love or remorse, but out of desperation. The question hung in the air between us. I thought about everything Sophia and I had built together. The years of struggle, the nights she worked double shifts while I studied business plans, the small victories that led to bigger ones. We had created something real, something that belonged entirely to us. Then I thought about my children who had grown up without grandparents on my side. My daughter had once asked why her friends had 4 grandparents, and she only had 2. I did not have a good answer for her. I asked my parents directly, "Did you come here because you want to reconcile or because you need money?" My mother looked away. My father cleared his throat. "Both," he finally admitted. "We are family son. That has to count for something." I almost laughed. Family. They had disowned me for marrying the woman I loved. They had tried to destroy my wedding. They had ignored my children's existence. And now they wanted to claim family as a reason to help them. Sophia, who had been silent throughout this entire conversation, finally spoke. Her voice was calm but firm. She looked at my parents and said, "I have never hated you. I spent years trying to hate you, and I could not do it. But I also cannot forget what you did." She told them about the nights I could not sleep because I missed them even after everything. She told them about explaining to our children why they did not have grandparents who visited or sent birthday cards. She told them about the messages my mother had sent, the words that still echoed in her mind years later. "We built our life with nothing," Sophia said. "We did it without your money, without your approval, without your support. We proved that our love was real. I do not need your inheritance. I do not need your acceptance. What I need, what your son needs, what your grandchildren need is respect. If you cannot give us that, then you have nothing to offer us." I stood up and handed the letter back to my father. "I will not take this inheritance," I told him. "Not like this. Not as a transaction." My father's face turned red with anger. He called me ungrateful, said I was throwing away everything our family had worked for. My mother started crying, but I held firm. "If you want to be part of our lives," I continued, "then start by apologizing. Not to me, to Sophia. A real apology, not because you need something, but because you are genuinely sorry for how you treated her." They started toward the door. My father was still muttering about ingratitude. But my mother stopped. She turned around and looked at Sophia. For a long moment she said nothing. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "I am sorry." It was not much. It was not enough. But it was the first time in 7 years that she had acknowledged Sophia as a person worthy of an apology. After they left, Sophia and I sat together for a long time. We talked about everything, the past, the present, the uncertain future. I let myself feel the grief I had been carrying for years, the loss of the parents I thought I had, the family I thought I belonged to. Sophia held my hand through all of it. In the weeks that followed, I made a decision. I wrote to my parents and told them I was willing to reconnect, but on my terms. They would need to spend time with our family, get to know their grandchildren, treat Sophia with the respect she deserved. If they could do that genuinely and consistently, then maybe we could rebuild something. I would not use my grandfather's inheritance to bail out their failing business. That money, if I ever claimed it, would go toward my children's education, toward charitable causes, toward building something positive. I would not let it become another tool of manipulation. The healing was not instant. Trust once broken takes years to rebuild. My parents visited a few times. It was awkward at first, full of long silences and careful words. But slowly something shifted. My mother started sending birthday cards to the children. My father asked about my business, actually listened to my answers. Sophia remained cautious but open. She had the biggest heart of anyone I knew, and she was willing to give people second chances. Looking back now, I realize that those 7 years of silence taught me more than any inheritance ever could. I learned that family is not just about blood. It is about choice. It is about showing up for people, supporting them, respecting them, even when it is hard. I learned that you can love someone and still hold boundaries. I learned that forgiveness is not about forgetting what happened. It is about choosing not to let the past poison your future. Sophia. The woman my parents once called a gold digger turned out to be the richest person I know. Not in money, but in character. She taught me what loyalty looks like, what strength looks like, what unconditional love looks like. She never asked me to choose between her and my parents. She simply showed me every single day what I would be choosing. If you are watching this and you have family who does not accept the person you love, I want you to know something. Their rejection is not your failure. Their inability to see the value in your partner says everything about them and nothing about you. You deserve to be with someone who makes you better, someone who stands beside you when everything falls apart. Do not let anyone, not even family, convince you otherwise. And if you are the one who has been rejected the way Sophia was, please know this: your worth is not determined by someone else's approval. You are enough exactly as you are. The right people will see that. The wrong people will miss out. So let me ask you, have you ever had to choose between family expectations and your own heart? How did you handle it? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this video touched you in any way, please hit that like button. It really helps more people find these stories. And if you are not subscribed yet, join our community. We share real stories about real struggles and real triumphs. Share this with someone who might need to hear it today. Thank you for spending this time with me. I wish you the courage to choose love even when it is hard. Take care of yourselves and take care of the people who truly matter.